In the news this week, MPs speak against the damaging no-fault divorce bill in Parliament, a Westminster committee votes through abortion regulations for Northern Ireland, and the NHS changes official guidance to recognise the dangers of trans drugs to children. Hello. Justice Secretary Robert Buckland has claimed that divorce and marriage are not linked during a debate in the House of Commons. MPs were discussing the government's no-fault divorce bill, which several said would lead to a rise in divorce rates and would send the wrong message to society. But Buckland, who is driving the bill, claimed, "I do not believe that issues of reform of the process of divorce are germane to the issue of marriage itself." Despite this, several MPs, including Sir Edward Lee and Fiona Bruce, set out the dangers to families and society.
80% of people who were consulted actually oppose this measure. In another poll, 72% said that if you bring in compulsory no-fault divorce, then people will get more blasé about divorce. It is obvious that if you make something easier, it will happen more often.
The government makes great play of the fact that removing any reason for a marriage breakdown will improve children's life chances. This simply does not acknowledge that it is the very fact of parental separation which can be, and often is, an adverse childhood experience with long-term consequences.
A Westminster committee has voted to confirm imposing revised abortion regulations on Northern Ireland. Despite the Stormont Assembly voting to reject the regulations last week, the Delegated Legislation Committee voted 15-2 for them to proceed. MPs Sir John Hayes and Carla Lockhart were among those who spoke passionately against the regulations. Sir John called the changes unconstitutional, unwanted and unwise, and said imposing them on the province undermines the very principle of devolution. Carla Lockhart called on the government to respect the lives of the unborn.
These regulations will see the most liberal abortion laws foisted upon the people of Northern Ireland, a province that has been life-affirming and values life, will revert if this government proceeds to a society that destroys life and terminates existence. I ask that this committee today take note of the fact that both lives matter.
The government is planning to scrap Sunday trading restrictions, it has been revealed. Legislation is being prepared that will enable larger supermarkets to open for more than 6 hours on Sundays. The plans, claimed to be needed to kick-start the economy following lockdown, have been met with criticism from the Labour Party, trade unions and media commentators. Shadow Foreign Secretary Lisa Nandy says she was not at all convinced that this will actually help to get the economy back on track. And Paddy Lillis, General Secretary of Shopworkers Union Usdaw, called it an opportunistic use of the coronavirus crisis and a slap in the face for each and every worker in retail and the food supply chain. And finally, the NHS has changed its guidance on puberty-blocking drugs for gender-confused children to acknowledge some of the dangers. Until recently, the NHS said the drugs were considered to be fully reversible, but it now states that little is known about the long-term side effects of hormone or puberty blockers in children with gender dysphoria. They also admit it is not known what the psychological effects of the drugs may be. It comes as J.K. Rowling has been inundated with online abuse for emphasising the reality of biological sex. The Harry Potter author sparked complaints when she tweeted that men don't have periods. Despite public pressure and personal criticism from Potter actors Daniel Radcliffe and Emma Watson, Rowling has refused to back down. Well, that's all for this week. For regular updates and information on all of our stories, plus much more, visit our website at christian.org.uk. Until next time, goodbye.